Welcome to day 2 of our PATH 2025 workshop. Today we'll be covering the PATH POS administration setup. First, I'll give you a couple of moments to look over our legal disclaimer. And on today's agenda, we're going to be covering how to create templates inside of our PATH POS, document packages or print groups, setting up document settings, drop-down list, services settings, setting up automatic status alerts, initiating a lead into a loan file, how to generate the loan comparison in the pre-approval letter, user permission and access rights, and PATH loan registration. So now we're back inside of the PATH POS, and now I'm able to show you how I was able to set up some of the items that I showed you on day 1. Starting with the fee templates, here under our template section, this is where you're able to set up all of the company level defaults for your PATH POS. And one of those defaults are your fee templates. So as you can see here on my fee templates tab, I do have fee templates already created and I have stored here. So for example, if I click on my Quicken fee template, you can see that I already have defaulted fee names and fee amounts listed here for each section of the fee template. And this will migrate over to my fees worksheet. If I wanted to add additional fees to this fee template for Quicken, I can click on the plus sign on the section that I want to add the fee to. And I'll just simply come into this drop down, select the fee that I wanted to add, select who the fee is paid to, and then down here you have a choice to put a percentage or a dollar amount. And I'll just put in a random dollar amount here for this example. Down here at the bottom you have a save and close or save and new. Save and close means that this is the only fee that I want to add to this section and I'm done. Save and new means that I want to continue to add fees to this section until I am done. So I'm going to do a save and close here so we can see that additional $250 fee, the appraisal fee, populate here. And I'm going to go ahead and click save up here at the top. Okay. If I click back on my fee template, you are able to create additional fee templates in this section by clicking on the plus sign up here at the top. And you would come here and first name your fee template, give it a name. And each section of the fee template, section A all the way down to the service providers borrowers can shop for, work in the same way as far as how you populate the fees. So this would be a blank fee sheet. Okay, I call mine test fee worksheet. And if I were to click on the plus sign here, again, this looks very familiar, but this is how you add the fees to each of your sections. So again, I can come to this drop down here, and let's say I needed to go ahead and add my application fee. I can select who that's paid to. I'm going to say that's paid to my lender, and I'm going to say that application fee is $300. Okay. If I do a save and new, that fee and fee name populates behind me, and I can continue to add fees to section A. So I can come back to my drop down and now add my assumption fee. I'll say this is paid to my lender as well. Give this an amount of $150. And now I'm done. I only want to add these 2 fees so I can do a save and close. So as I stated here, you can see your fee name and the fee amount. If you want to delete these fees, you can. If you want to add additional fees, you can do that as well. If you needed to edit a fee, you can double click on it and edit that fee amount or percentages you've entered in here already. Okay. If I were to hit save, this fee template is now housed with the rest of my templates here on this screen. And again, if I needed to go in and make any additions or changes, I can double click that item and make those additional fees to the fees worksheet. Once you've created your fee templates, you can utilize this in a couple of different places. The main one is the actual fees worksheet inside of a loan file. So I'm going to jump into a loan file real quick. Once I'm inside of a loan file, it automatically brings me over to my application tab. And underneath my application tab is where I can locate the initial fees worksheet. So if I click on the initial fees worksheet, in the right corner here, we have a select button. This allows you to select your fee templates that you can pull into your fees worksheet. So if I wanted to bring in my Quicken template, I can click on Quicken, hit OK, and that is going to import all of my fee names and fee amounts that I've defaulted in my fee template. And again, these are default, so if you need to make additions or subtractions, you can do that here on this screen and save that fees worksheet with those changes. All right, so the next item we're going to talk about are the document packages, otherwise known as print groups. So we are back under the template section where all the company level defaults are set up. I'm going to go ahead and click on document packages. And again, what you're seeing is a list of document packages that I've already created, and this is where they're stored. So for example, if I double click on my FHA initial disclosure package, you'll be able to see all of the forms that are encompassed within this disclosure package. Okay, I'm able to preview these forms or delete these forms out of my print group or disclosure package. Now to create a print group or disclosure package, if I click back on document packages here, we can click on the plus sign and we'll get this blank screen. There's a filter by drop down that's going to have 3 options. The first one is application. This is going to generate all of the forms pertaining to the actual application itself. So we'll see things such as the borrower authorization form, borrower certification authorization, disclosure notice. And as you can see, as I click on these forms, they are displaying over here on the right. If I go back to the drop down and change this to processing, this is going to change the forms that display here to our processing forms. So forms such as our 4506 or 4506T, affiliate business disclosure. And again, as you can see, as I click these forms, they are populating over here on the right. And the last option we have in the drop down is for underwriting, where we'll find our transmittal summary and our notice of action taken. Okay. So I've clicked all the forms that I want in my print group. I do need to name it up here at the top real quick. So I'm going to name this one test doc pack. Okay. So once you've named it and you selected your documents here, you can go ahead and click save up here in the top right hand corner. And once you click save, if I were to go back and click on document packages, we should see that new print group or document package here called test doc. Now you are able to edit any of these print groups from the screen. If I wanted to add or delete any of the documents in my document package, I could double click on that document package here and I can still delete forms or add forms to the document package. Also from the screen, if you needed to delete a document package in its entirety, you do have the ability to delete that full document package with the trash can. Now I want to show you where you can utilize these document packages inside of the Path POS. So I'm going to jump back into a loan file. And this time when I'm in the loan file, I'm going to go up to the top and select the tab for documents. And the first place that you're able to generate your document packages is in the navigation panel under the tab generate. So if I click generate, this allows you to choose the borrower that you want to generate the forms for. And then down here at the bottom, we have that filter by drop down, but this time we're going to have an additional option here. So we still have the application, processing, and underwriting. We also now have a document package option. Once we click on that, this is going to display all of the document packages that we have stored in our template section that we created. So if I were to click on my FHA initial disclosure package, it will display all of the forms that are encompassed in that disclosure package. And if I wanted to store these generated forms, I can name this package, so I will. I'll hit set. And what's going to happen is these forms over here on the right are going to move over to our storage section, and we should have a new header called test pack with all the forms that I generated for my disclosure package. If I were to click on one of these forms and preview it, it would have the information of Derek Young, the borrower, on those forms. And this way I can generate these forms, print them off, save them as a PDF, and provide them to my borrower if needed. So the next tab under the document section where you're able to utilize your document packages is the e-sign option. So if I click on e-sign, you'll have one button to click on here, which is request e-signatures. And it's going to bring up the wizard. The first part of the wizard is to select a signer. So I will select myself. You do have the ability to select a custom signer for cases of power of attorney. But after I select myself, I can click next. And this next screen should look familiar. We have that filter by drop down again. You're going to have those 4 options. So you can select those forms individually per the category, or again, you can select the option for document packages. Once again, when I select document packages, it shows me all of the pre-made document packages that I've created. So if I want to send out my FHA initial disclosure package, I can select that one. It will generate all those forms that are encompassed inside of that FHA disclosure package. Again, I can preview those forms or delete any forms out before I send this form out to be e-signed. So I'll click next. This screen here, it just wants to be sure that every form on here that you've added in this section has a place for the borrower to e-sign. All the forms inside of Zenly already have a pre-signed signature line for the borrower to sign. And that's why these buttons would be grayed out over here on the right. So once we see our forms are here, we can hit next. Then from here, it wants you to name your document package. Of course, you can give it a due date. This allows you to preview the forms before you send out the request to make sure these are all the forms that you want your borrower to e-sign. And if these are the forms, you can hit the request button down here at the end, and this will send out the e-disclosure package out to the borrower and allow them to e-sign that document package for you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our document settings. For the document settings, we have two drop downs. The first one, we have two options. I'll select application. The second one, we have our privacy policy and servicing disclosure. So if I select our privacy policy, of course, this is where you can default the privacy policy that will actually print out with the application, or you can generate this with your documents. So of course, you'll see things such as your revision date, and you will fill out the privacy policy as it applies to your company. If I go back and click on that drop down again, you'll see the servicing disclosure. And here you would click the checkbox or check boxes that applies to the way that your business runs. Now, if I go back to that first drop down and change it from application to processing, we're going to have three additional forms that we can default. First one being the consumer choice disclosure, okay, for your FHA and conventional loans. Next one being the Core Fair Lending address. One of the things I love about this section is if you know the federal agency, you can select them from the drop down here and it will auto populate that address for you. So you don't have to find it on Google and paste it here. And then for the last item is the Fair Lending Notice. And for your Fair Lending Notice, as you'll see, there's a plus sign here. You will click this, enter in that company's information, do a save and close, and of course that company's information would print out on the Fair Lending Notice. All right. Right above that, we have the drop-down list. And for the drop-down list, for the first drop-down, again, we have two options. The first one being for application. Second one is going to say initial and closing fees. And the last one, these are the different sections of the fee template or fees worksheet. So if I click on origination charges, what this is showing me are all of the fees that I'm able to select in the drop-down list for when I'm creating my fee template, or if I wanted to add additional fees in the actual fees worksheet. So this is how you're able to organize the correct fees that should go in each section, section A through section H. So you'll notice these check boxes over here to the right that say display. If I unclick these check boxes, what I'm doing is creating a brand new section that states at the very bottom, none displayed. These items will not show up in that drop down list for section A for your LOs to be able to choose. Okay. In addition to that, if I wanted to add additional fees that Zenly didn't currently have in the drop down, I could add an additional fee here, do a save and close, save and new if I needed to add multiple, and those fee names would be visible in the drop down list for your fees worksheet. Okay, so this just controls what fees that you're able to see in each section of the fees template and fees worksheet. Going back to the first drop down and changing this to documents. This middle drop down changes to document request. Last one changes to pending. So what you're looking at now is a list of documents. This is going to come into play when you're actually doing a document request inside of a loan file. There is a drop down of a list of documents that you can request from a borrower. So this works in the same way as far as controlling that drop down list. If there are certain things that you do not ever request from a borrower, you can choose to disable them or not display them. If there are documents that you request from a borrower that Zenly does not contain, you can add those documents here as well. And when you do a save and close, those documents will be visible and selectable in the drop down list when it's time to do a document request. All right, moving on to the servicer settings. These are going to be the company level servicer settings for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and credit. So as the admin, you would come in here and click the plus sign here. And this works in the same way as it did for the individual access. So in the first drop down, you would select credit, select your credit agency, and then put the company level credentials in for credit. Same thing with Fannie as we saw before. This is desktop originator. Company level credentials would be entered in for desktop originator. And same thing with Freddie Mac. This turns to loan product advisor, and you will put in your company level credentials for LPA. Once these items are saved on this screen here, by default, the company level credentials will be the credentials that all of your users will be using. That is, unless they have entered in their individual level credentials for credit and Fannie, those will supersede the admin level credentials. All right. Now let's move over to our next item, which is going to be alert configurations. Alert configurations include system-generated and user-created alerts. Users can toggle automatic Zenly alerts and email notifications. These alerts inform you of document uploads, e-sign package completions, and file assignments. The Interview Complete email feature will be grayed out, meaning you'll always receive notifications when a borrower completes an online application. The bell icon indicates the total number of alerts in your pipeline for leads and loan files. By clicking Select, you can choose which alerts to clear or mark as unread. You can also click the alert to see all alerts related to this file on the status screen. With the appropriate access, you can remove alerts from the screen or create custom ones by clicking on the plus sign. You would then enter a description, set a due date, and assign the alert to another user. The clear alert automatically will be configured by your admin. So I'm going to switch gears and navigate to the Users tab at the top. Select the user and click the Admin Alert Configuration tab. As an admin, you'll be able to grant additional access to alert configurations to your users. Down here at the bottom, if this is selected to edit for any of your users, they would have the ability to create custom alerts and assign those alerts to other users, which is what I just displayed, and also be able to clear their alerts out of their alert bell or from an individual lead or loan file. The clear after, this is the checkbox that will be configured by your admin. So the default is 30 days before those alerts that hit that alert bell clear out automatically. But as an admin, you can change the default from 30 all the way up to 365 days or a year before those alerts clear out of the alert bell automatically. So up next, we'll talk about initiating a lead file into a loan file inside of the Path POS. Let's say that we've collected all the information from this lead or prospective borrower that we're going to collect, and they're ready to move on with the loan process. So now we want to initiate this lead into a loan file. So we do have the Initiate Loan button up here at the top. Once I click on the Initiate Loan button, you'll see that we have two options to choose from: File Contact or Import Data from Loan Interview. The import data from loan interview will be the information that the borrower actually filled out on the online application. So if this paper icon is here and this is clickable, that means that the borrower has a loan summary and has filled out the online application. And of course, you want to import their information into the loan file. The file contact will pull over all of the information that you manually typed into the lead and pull that into the loan file. So now I'm going to hit next. On this screen, it does want you to select any of the documents that you want to bring over from the lead into the loan file. So I want all of my documents, my W-2s, my IDs, and my loan summaries. Once I select those documents, I'll hit next. On this screen, it's just confirming that this is the lead that you want to be the borrower, and these are the documents that you want to flow over to the loan file. They are, so I'm going to hit Create Loan. Once I hit Create Loan, what you'll see is that the loan file automatically opens up on the Application tab. It has brought over all that data and documents and stored it, and the Application tab is what we're currently looking at now. Next up, I'll demonstrate how to generate the loan comparison and the pre-approval letter in your Path POS. If we click on the Qualification button, this brings us to our loan comparison, where we're able to create loan scenarios for our loan comparison to compare. So as you can see here, I have created some loan scenarios, a conventional 30, a FHA 30, so forth and so on. To create a loan scenario, you'll click on the plus sign in the top right hand corner. On this screen, you do want to name your product. So let me just go ahead and name this my conventional 30 year. And this is the first place inside of a lead file that you're able to import in your loan program templates and your fee templates. So here for the loan program scenario, if I hit select, this will bring up all of the loan scenario templates that I've created. So I can go ahead and select my conventional 30-year fixed and bring that one in. Over here, if I hit select, this will allow me to bring in all of the fee templates that I've created, and I want to bring in my Quicken template, so I'll select that one. And then down here in the loan and note detail information section, this is where you would create your loan scenario. So let me just enter some information in this section so we can see how this flows. So we'll enter our appraisal value, our sales price. One of the nice things about the calculator is if you know the percentage that your borrower is going to put down, let's say 20%, it will auto calculate for you the base loan amount and the down payment amount for you. Okay. And then the rest of the screen, you would fill out everything that applies. Your PMI or MIP section, subordinate financing, rate adjustment. And if we hit next, before I do that, let me scroll up. This is the little guide that we're going through. So when I hit next, it's going to take us to the proposed housing expenses, where we can enter in numbers here, percentages or numbers. If I hit next now, this takes us to the estimated closing costs, where we can edit the fees worksheet template that we entered in. Once we've created our loan scenario, we would hit save. And once we hit save, if we go back to our loan comparison, that loan scenario will be housed here. Now for the loan comparison, you can compare up to 3 scenarios at once. So you would just simply come over here and select the loan scenarios that you wish to compare. And then once you have your 3 selected, up here at the top, it wants you to enter in the number of months to compare. And I'm going to leave it at 12, and then I will hit compare. Once I hit compare, you'll see that this is the loan comparison with the 3 different scenarios. But what you'll notice is there's nowhere on this screen to print it or save it or give it to a borrower. So I'm going to take you over to the Documents tab on the lead side. And the 2 things I'm going to point out here is the storage section is where all of the documents that you've requested from the borrower and have stored in the lead will be housed, as well as the lead invite, which I'm going to talk about when we go back to the status screen. But here on the screen, if we click on Generate, you'll see that this is where the loan comparison as well as the pre-approval form will be generated inside of Zenly. So if I click on the loan comparison, that selected document shows up here. And if I preview this document, this is how the loan comparison will look to a borrower. So here you'll see that you have the option to download it, print it as a PDF, save it, so forth and so on. And back here on the pre-approval form, this will be populated based on the information entered in for your loan comparison and your loan scenarios. So if I click preview here, this is how you're able to generate and print out the pre-approval form for your borrowers. And this is how the pre-approval form would look. Next up, we'll cover how an admin sets up user permissions and access rights for their users. Now back on the user information tab, this is where the admin is going to come and enter in the information of the new user. So you'll start with the contact information. Of course, everything with the asterisk is required. We did make a modification here. So now for password resets, by default, you'll be sent an email with a code to reset your password. If you would prefer for that code to be sent to you via text, you can opt into texting and just make sure that you put a mobile phone number here. Now it's time to grant the access rights that you want this user to have to Zenly. The first set of access rights we have are loan access rights. So in the drop down, we have access rights for user only edit. This means that this user will be able to see their loans only and edit their loans only. All read only means that this user will be able to see all loans from all users, but won't be able to edit and make any changes. And all edit means that this user will be able to see all loans and make edits and changes to all loans in the system. In addition, by default, all users will be able to create brand new loans in the system. If you want them deleting loans out of the system, that will be up to the admin. And then, of course, if you want your users to be able to copy lead or loan files, you want to be sure that you grant them this access here. Moving down to the document management access, by default, your users will be able to upload documents into the document management as well as send out e-disclosure packages. If you want them deleting documents, that will be up to you, the admin. Moving over to the right to the menu loan access section, if you just keep a mental image of the verbiage here, status all the way down to settings, I'm going to skip real quick and jump into a loan file just so you can get a visual picture of what those access rights are referring to. The top buttons appear at the top, so status all the way down to settings. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our users option again and click on new user. And we scroll back down. So again, those are those buttons that were on the top of the screen on a loan file. So the first 2 at the top have the same access rights for edit and read only. So those are pretty self-explanatory. The other ones, from processing all the way down to settings, have an additional access right which reads no access. If any of these tabs are set to no access, then those users won't be able to see those tabs at the top of the screen inside of a loan file or any of the sub tabs beneath it. Moving down to the directory access, this is referring to the directory that we talked about where you can bulk import your contacts. So you can give edit access rights to the directory, meaning your users can add and or delete contacts from the directory, or you can make it read only where your users are able to use the contacts and add them to leader loan files, but not able to edit or delete any of the contacts you've entered. Under the user profile section, this is referring to the user profile icon that we talked about. The edit access rights will allow that user to go in and make edits to their individual level credentials or their contact information or alert configurations. Read only will allow them to see those items and not make any changes, and no access means they will have no access to their user profile at all. And for the interview portal, this is referring to the interview configuration where the online application is set up. So the access rights here, disable site. If you disable the site for a user, this generally would be given to a processor who's not going to have an online application for a borrower. They won't have access to the interview configuration site. Company manage. This means that the admin will run and set up the company main web page and set up all the customization, and LOs won't have access to do any of those things. Read only limited access means that your LOs will have their individual LO landing pages. They'll have an online application. They'll also be able to see the document requests and e-disclosures, but they won't be able to customize their LO landing pages with images, videos, pictures, colors, text, fonts, so forth and so on. And then lastly is the edit user configurable. The users will be able to do everything that I mentioned above, in addition to being able to customize their LO landing pages. And speaking of the interview portal, you access the interview portal or the interview configuration via the user profile icon here. So the interview configuration will pull up its own screen. This screen is where you're able to customize your landing pages for the LOs, your company landing pages for your borrowers. These are the landing pages where the borrowers will actually come and apply for your online application. This site allows you to customize with images, pictures, and videos, edit the automatic emails that go out, request documents upon the initial application, and much more. I do have a separate video on the interview configuration that is available on our Calyx.com website. All right, so back to Zenly. And the last set of access rights are the administrator access rights that are defaulted to no access. If you were to grant edit access to a user for administrator access rights, this would allow this user to be able to assign themselves to another person's loan file with edit access rights, or assign another LO to another LO's loan file and give them edit access rights to make changes or make themselves the LOs of that loan file. So this generally is given out sparingly, so we will default to no access and let the admin choose whether or not you want to give that access right out. And the last one that's defaulted to no access is the templates. This is referring to the template tab here where all the company level defaults are set up. So if you do not want anyone messing with your templates or your directory or any of your defaulted privacy policy forms, then generally you'll leave this to no access. Lastly, once you've made all those selections, you'll add the state or states that user is licensed to work in, and then you would hit save. Once you hit save, that user will appear on this list, and that is how you add a user to the interview configuration and or Zenly. And for the last item that we'll be covering today, which is the Path loan registration, I'll show you how to get your Path POS application into your Path LOS. When you're prepared to transfer your loan file to your Path account, you'll notice a register loan button on your Zenly account. This button is your gateway to starting the process. It's an incredibly straightforward procedure that can be completed with just one single click. So I'll go ahead and click the register loan button, and this action triggers a series of important processes. First, Path retrieves user information from Zenly, confirming that the user is verified to proceed with the loan application. Additionally, it gathers all relevant data from the file, along with any supplementary information that may be needed. This includes not just the 3.4 MISMO data, but also details on various fees and pricing information, especially when you've already run pricing through Zenly. After completing all the necessary steps and gathering the required data, Path generates the loan using that information. It then returns the Path loan number, which is what you see displayed on your screen right now. After that loan is created, if you had any documents attached to the Zenly file, at this point, you can send documents to that file as well. You can proceed by clicking the Send Documents button, which will show you all the documents I attached to the Zenly file. This allows you to select the specific documents that you wish to transfer to the path file. You can easily select the documents you wish to include in the path file by clicking the checkboxes provided. After making your selections, simply click the Send button to proceed. You will notice a small progress bar appear, followed by a green checkbox indicating success. At that point, you can consider the process complete. Your loan is now successfully transferred to the path side with all the necessary documents ready and waiting for you. Now back in Zenly, that Register Loan button has now turned into a Send Documents button. So you can now click that and send any additional documents to that same path file. Now, let me guide you to Path to show you how that file is displayed within the system. And as you can see, here's the file we just created through the process we completed together. And now you've experienced the convenience of the Path on the Go Mortgage POS. Again, my name is Derek Young, and I want to thank you for your partnership and our Calyx Thrive 2025 workshop.